When it comes to the movies, drama in a relationship can get you an Oscar. In real life, it creates anxiety, depression, and a lot of misery and fighting. This podcast is going to be about avoiding drama-filled relationships and becoming more solution-oriented instead of problem-oriented. Hi, I'm Carol Bettino, and I'm the author of 2 books, Better Choices, Better Life, and the other is Directions, Your Roadmap to Happiness. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about, as a psychotherapist, how I have worked and helped many couples become more solution-oriented instead of getting stuck in the problem. Now, one of the ways to look at that is that we need to communicate, which means we need to talk things out instead of complaining. People who are problem-oriented have a tendency to complain a lot, therefore they fight a lot. They stay stuck in the problem and they go back and forth arguing over so many different topics and never even get a solution to the original problem. People who are solution-oriented communicate. You avoid yourself from becoming defensive. You avoid yourself from blaming the other person. You just hold yourself accountable. And that's an important part of how we become solution-oriented. Find the problem, figure a way to work it out, and stop the fighting. Now, a big part of becoming solution-oriented is learning how to ask your partner what's going on if you're upset with them, or ask them what they're feeling if they seem upset. Don't interpret and don't assume. So, what I want you to think about, relationships in general that are riddled with toxic thinking and behaviors, they find themselves in a relationship where they're miserable and unhappy. It affects their emotional life, their sex life, it affects their social life, and sometimes it could even affect their mental health. So I'd really like you to think about something really simple that I use called the ABCs of life. And that's basically your attitude affects your behavior, which affects the choices that you're going to make. Now, because this is a podcast on relationships, I'm going to focus strictly on the relationships. But let's face it, everybody's got attitudes. I mean, take a look at social media and you'll have everybody on soapboxes telling you how to think and what they think. So it is important to look at what is your attitude about relationships. And an attitude is how you think about it, how you feel about it, how you interpret those thoughts and those feelings. For instance, you were cheated on. You may now have some issues of insecurity, low self-esteem, low confidence. You may even have some issues regarding jealousy and finding yourself always looking to see if the other person is going to cheat. That's a very unhealthy way. One of my rules, I'll tell you that when I tell you one of my rules, they're not a bad idea to write them down because they may be your rules too, except you haven't really thought them out. But one of my rules is don't carry baggage from the past into your present. No matter what, when you do that, you give all the power and the control to the person who either abused you, took advantage of you, cheated on you, hurt you, whether it's from childhood, whether it's somebody who bullied you in school, or whether it was an assault, no matter what it is. Don't carry the baggage from the past into the present because all you're doing is giving the power and control up to someone else. So again, something in the past in a relationship may make you think and feel and interpret things differently in a current relationship. Now, the way you think and feel influences your behavior. That's the B. And that's why some people in their behavior react badly, or they may be known to be called names that also start with a B. And we want to avoid that because when they do, they get angry and then say hurtful things that they can't take back. And even if a person apologizes, it sounds great that they apologize and that they've owned it, But what good is it if they have to apologize over and over again for the same bad behavior? So our behavior is not going to change unless we change our attitude. So somewhere we have to look at how we're thinking about something, how we're feeling about something, how we're interpreting something. That is going to influence why we react and respond in a healthy way or a dysfunctional way. And that's where you see a lot of toxic behavior. Is you'll find it because people have not changed their attitude about what is healthy versus unhealthy in a relationship. Again, some people could win an Oscar, but unfortunately they can lose a potential good relationship. Now keep in mind that your behavior is going to lead to the C. And the C is choice. But choices have consequences. So you have to pay attention to how you choose to handle something, because if you don't handle it well, it can start to cause a wedge in the relationship. So one of my other rules is don't ever fight through texting or the phone. Talk it out in person. Remember, if you want a healthy relationship, you have to be the healthy partner, and you have to be in a relationship with a healthy partner. Otherwise, what happens is people will text, and then the other one will just keep texting back and forth, and you'll say some really horrible things. It's kind of like drunk texting. Not a good idea. Close your phone, put your phone away. Take out a pad and a paper, and I'd recommend that you do some journaling. Write down everything you want to call them, all the things that you're assuming and interpreting and thinking about and feeling. And as soon as you write the last word on that paper, take time to shred it back and forth, up and down into tiny little pieces and throw it away. It's kind of like a left brain, right brain experience. It's like get all these emotions out, bring it over to the other side, use your logic, and recognize that when you get all this toxic, yucky stuff out of your body and out of your head and off your back, you will feel so much more relaxed. And then you won't be as angry. Wait till they come home, and wait until maybe even if you have to, if it's late, the next day. I am not a person who would ever recommend waking somebody up in the middle of the night and getting into a fight. It can only lead to more toxic and more drama in a relationship. Now, if you don't change a negative attitude, especially about how you feel about the relationship or about the fight you had or the argument or the disagreement, then the way you think and the way you feel is not going to change. So it's not going to change your behavior, and you're going to make bad choices, which in the long run could destroy what could have been a healthy relationship. So if you want to avoid toxic or abusive or drama-filled relationships, you need to reevaluate your relationship attitude and what you want in the relationship. Now, I make a recommendation to all of the couples that I work with, and I've worked with many over the years, and I'll call them on it, hold them accountable, and remind them that if you're held accountable, you don't get to make excuses, and you don't get to turn it around and make it about the other person, and you don't get to triangulate, which means you don't start to bring out that into another topic and talk about something else. You stay focused on the problem so that you can find a solution. So what I recommend is that you make a list of what's important in a relationship. Now, I've been married since I'm 18, and I did not have to get married. Matter of fact, my son was born 3 days and 1 year after my wedding. And I have to tell you, I was a very young bride. And so when I look at how many years I'm married, which I'm not admitting because it'll give away my age, but this is why I like to do this, not on where you see my face. No, just joking. But I think what's important is that when you realize how important a relationship is to you, it'll last. And it'll last for decades because what you have brings you two together through the good times and the bad, and the happy and the sad, but you find that you're a team. And that's what a healthy relationship is about. It's about teamwork, that we work together. If you had a company and you were two big CEOs of a major company, what would happen if all you did was fight? All you did was resent the other, or be passive-aggressive and not talk things out, just complain. Your company would eventually go bankrupt. Unfortunately, bankruptcy in a relationship is usually a divorce or a very painful breakup. So avoid the toxic, avoid the drama, and learn how to look at what you want in the relationship. So on that list, it may be like a good sense of humor, easygoing, fun to be with, a good communicator, anything that you think is important to you. But these are things that you can learn and grow with. You can work them out. But the second list, this is what I call the non-negotiable list. If you put something on that list and you see that happening, that should be a red flag that this relationship is unhealthy. And if you're only dating, this is the time to get out. Walk away and don't look back. Now, on that list could be the person is abusive, they're a cheater, they're very controlling or manipulative, or they're a gaslighter. They love to gaslight. So those are things that you want to look at. Now, one of my other rules is you can compromise things with no problem in a relationship. But don't ever compromise yourself, because you will never be happy if you continue to do that. Now, I want you for a minute just to pretend that we are really good friends. And I tell you that I have a friend I want to introduce to you. The person is good looking and funny, loves to surprise you with gifts, and I might add is a great kisser. Now, if I say to you, however, before I introduce you, I have to tell you something about this person. And what I tell you is that this person is very critical, controlling, emotionally abusive, and a big-time gaslighter. And then I ask you, very simply, do you still want me to introduce you to this person? Most of the time, a person would say no. So when you have that on your non-negotiable list, you don't make excuses for it. You know it's going to lead down a very bad road. So I want you to really think about the value and the importance of what you want in a relationship. What is important to you? And when you make this list, be practical. Because, if it's all about looks, looks change. If it's all about hairline or hair, that can change too. What you want to know is the core of the person, the value of the person, who this person really is. And is this somebody you want to be with? And if you're dating, this is a great opportunity for you to figure out, is this somebody I want to be with? Is it somebody I have fun with, that I enjoy? That's what's important. But you have to look at the core of the characteristics and the traits of the person if you want to be happy. Because the better choices that you make, the better life that you have. Now, I do want to tell you that I have an email address for this podcast, and you can send me questions if you want, and I can actually read them on the next podcast and give some answers to you on how to handle the problem. But also, I'd like you to request some topics that you may be interested in, that I would be happy to use them for future episodes. Well, our time is just about up, so I want to end with one of my affirmational quotes. I have written many affirmational quotes over the year, and I love to share them with people because I think that we have to reprogram our brain for healthy things, not the toxic things. There's so much toxicity in this world. We want to be able to find the positive things because that's what's going to make us happier and healthier people. So I want to end with this quote, and I want to thank you very much for your time, and I do hope you'll listen to me again. I have so much to offer and so much that I'd like to share. The quote is, I give myself permission to avoid toxic people and unhealthy situations. Have a great week.